All right, here we go. This is the day after Christmas, 2025. This is one of the more popular buildings in the huaqiangbei area of Shenzhen. I would say there's probably 20, 25 buildings that are pretty similar to this one. Maybe that's a bit high. Maybe it's more like 15. But in any case, this is the one that is sort of always in the photos when you Google search it. It has probably the most camera equipment, a good mix of fake stuff that's quite fun and actually really legitimate certified camera equipment, including cameras, lenses, SD cards, drones. Yeah, one of the interesting things about this building, it actually has this big escalator that goes directly to the second floor. There is a first floor, but it's pretty boring. I think there's just a Xiaomi store and then some LED suppliers on the first floor. The actual really popular stuff all starts on the second floor. It goes floor 2, floor 3, and then around floor 4 it starts to taper off into more boring stuff. And then by the time you get to 5 or 6, it's basically semiconductor companies and some computer repair people. So yeah, this is a pretty typical bunch of stores here. They have this one. This one just had a bit of everything, and actually, I don't remember seeing it last time I was here, but it's a pretty crazy array of massage guns, plush toys, little techie things, phone cases, pretty much anything you can imagine for consumer electronics. Here's some drones. One of the really funny things about this place is they have almost every store, it seems like, has drones, but I can't imagine too many of them actually work that well. Maybe they can get up and fly for a bit, but they're definitely not drones that you would want to rely on for any kind of video work or even a vacation. I'm not sure I would really trust the performance of a cheap drone bought here. And some camera equipment. I mean, you'll notice basically there's tons of rip-off cameras that look like popular cameras, but they're not the same, like DJI Pocket or action cameras or small film cameras. They have just tons and tons of sort of like rip-off third-party companies that make them, and they're cheap and they work to a certain extent, as far as I know, but again, just not something that you would really want to trust for any kind of important photos or rely on for actually working for more than a year. Yeah, speakers too. Speakers and headphones probably make up 20% of the entire building is speakers, power banks, headphones. And then you just have the most random assortment of other stuff. Yeah, another drone shop. You see a lot of foreigners at these places, and it's really hard to know. I mean, in most cases, I would assume they're tourists, but there's also quite a few that seem to be negotiating kind of like business or business scale purchases of stuff. Not necessarily on this floor, but if you go to some of the other floors that have like semiconductors or LEDs or something, or especially like security cameras or walkie-talkies, stuff like this. A lot of times you'll see people who look like they're from the Middle East or Africa or South America even, who seem to be trying to negotiate larger scale purchases of some of this stuff. This shop's one of the more legitimate looking ones. I didn't buy anything from here, but I considered buying a couple lenses for a camera I have, and they looked pretty legitimate. But again, there's kind of the legitimate ones, there's the secondhand ones, and then there's the sort of like shady, not sure if you can trust it places. Big Four, a lot of DJI stuff. Shenzhen's the headquarters, the global headquarters of DJI is in Shenzhen, and a lot of these stores in this building and a lot of the other buildings in Huaqiangbei have DJI products. I'm not sure how authentic they all are, but quite a bit of it looks to be authentic. Little cars for kids, I guess. You almost feel bad. I mean, a lot of the people that work here kind of just do the same thing, try to sell these little electronic bits, like the lady banging the drums there. They just do this day in and day out, and you have to give them a lot of respect for kind of showing enthusiasm. I feel like most people would go nuts if they did that for more than 10 days in a row, trying to sell it for, I don't even know, 10, 15 bucks. This was a pretty interesting store. They had a lot of sort of like daily functional electronics. There were a lot of like electric toothbrushes, hair dryers, keyboards. Wish you have a colorful life. Yeah, there's a lot of, as you could say, Google translated Chinese phrases on some of the products. This was definitely one of the more claustrophobic stores in the mall. It's pretty tight use of the space, but most of them is just kind of like one room and all the walls have stuff. And then, as you can see here, there's the stores on the outskirts, and then there's just like this middle section that's just kind of like the sort of middle of a mall that has the little kiosks. Just all kinds of random stuff. I think there was solar batteries. Tons and tons of LED stuff, power cables, headphones. It's definitely a fun experience to walk around, but it is really easy to get overwhelmed, especially after you walk into about 10 or 15 of these stores and start looking at stuff. You just kind of, your mind gets numb, and all of the stuff you looked at sort of melts into each other and you forget what's what. This stuff is pretty cool. Not sure how practical it is, but it's definitely some pretty fun, interesting technology. I don't think it quite shows up right, maybe because of the shutter speed, but it's like LED panel backpacks and some sort of like holographic projectors to the left that I just walked by. Yeah, smartwatches too. There's just, I think like almost every single one of these kiosks has 20 smartwatches from brands that most people have never heard of. A lot of Chinese brands, but then a lot of just like completely upstart, out of nowhere brands. I saw these I didn't do a deep look at those, but a lot of smart rings, which is what I just walked by, which there's been a couple pretty big companies that tried that and it didn't quite work because the technology just didn't quite work, but it's a pretty interesting concept where you wear a ring and you have some preset hand motions that control something like your phone or some other electronic equipment. Not sure I would try them from this place. I wouldn't really want my finger to get blown off by some battery that was made in the woods. Yeah, here's more of that. Smart ring, smart bracelet. Maybe someday that'll be sort of mainstream technology, but still a little like gimmicky and fringe. But I mean, a lot of the things, I would say like 20% of the stuff here is gimmicky and fringe just because they know, it's a lot of tourists, not just international tourists, but even from other places in China who come, because this is one of, I don't know, I would say top 10 things that come up when you Google search Shenzhen, things to do in Shenzhen. This is probably something like 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. So they know that there's a lot of people coming who've never been here before, and a lot of places try to get that sort of shock factor. This was a cool store. I don't remember ever seeing this before it, but they seem to have kind of like old school arcade boxes. There's some security guards just kind of roaming around. I guess if you've never been to China, they might look a little like, there's something going on there, but they're just walking around. Another day at work. So good drone. I'm not sure I would spend $5,000 on a drone from a place with that name, but a lot of those too. This trip I noticed a lot of like head massage, neck massage, chest massage, sort of like wearable massage stuff. Those are like some karaoke machines, like microphone speaker combos. And a cool little speaker store. Actually, the speakers are pretty good quality for bang for the buck. And then, some places just have the most random stuff, like foldable lamp. Or I bumped into that guy quite a few times. The guy was just looking at motorcycle stuff. But yeah, there's toys, action figures, stuff like that, which is what he was just looking at. Saw quite a lot of these too, and I don't know, that's another one of those things that I feel like the technology just hasn't quite caught up to the concept of the real-time translator. I mean, whenever that technology is ready, it'll just be on a phone. It won't be, some separate device that you have to carry around. So not 100% sure about that product concept. These are cool. These are little tiny keychain cameras that kind of blew up this year because Kodak made one, and now there's about 1,000 gimmicky copies. I think that's basically like a computer chip microscope, but there's so much stuff there that it's just like can't even spend that much time diving into it. drones. I guess if you didn't know much about drones, you would just sort of look at the price and see what the marketing claims were and make a decision that way. But the reality is, like, really, if it's not a DJI drone, you kind of can't trust it. A lot of audio technical equipment. There's limited amount in this building, but there's other buildings about the size of this one that are almost exclusively like audio stuff, like mixers, guitar pedals, you name it. Saw a lot of smart glasses there too. I didn't try any, but that's one that I think within 2 or 3 years, especially because the Meta glasses are getting really popular, I think technology will evolve enough that there'll be some pretty viable, cheap options there. Massage stuff. Actually, one of the really funny things is, I would say like 80% of the stuff in this building is the price is negotiable. So you walk around, you hear a lot of haggling back and forth, and you can kind of tell who knows what they're doing and who doesn't. Because the more savvy people have kind of understand what the price should be or what the range should be, and then you get people who you can kind of tell are oblivious to what the real price range of the product is or how low they can go. Heading up to the 3rd floor now, which is, I think, almost majority photo equipment stuff, so cameras, lenses, still a lot of like the gimmicky stuff, but more focused towards camera equipment. Yeah, and then these just random walkie-talkies that, if you need 100 walkie-talkies for some reason, this is probably an excellent place to come and kind of negotiate a good bulk price. I mean, all these super cool little cameras, but I just would never really trust them enough to spend money on them. Smartwatch, yeah, so that's 500 RMB, 400 RMB, it's about 60, 70 bucks US. And actually, yeah, a lot of these places have quite a few normal watches, which is pretty interesting because, you would think it's all this technology and then there's just gold watches. Kind of weird. This place, I think I have actually bought a couple lenses. They have really good, well-priced used lenses for cameras that are don't have too much wear and tear. Actually, and I think I got like a 20 millimeter Sony lens there that works really well. A lot of used cameras too. If you were in the market for an older camera and trying to get a good price, this is like 100% a great place to come. I'm not sure how much you can trust the internal pieces, but I would guess it's pretty safe unless it's a really expensive used camera. Yeah, one of the things you'll notice walking around, there's a pretty big pretty wide range of responses that you get from these people that work at the booth. Some of them are really eager to try to sell you something, and some of them kind of, I don't know if it's they just got up from a nap or they just have other stuff going on in their life. They're really not interested in trying to hawk products. This was a Lumix store. It looked very legitimate. If I was going to buy a Lumix, I wouldn't have any problem buying one from a place like this. But if you get a lot of the other booths that have a big assortment of stuff, or it looks kind of thrown together, I'm not sure I'd trust that. This place too had some pretty legitimate looking used stuff, like the Leica cameras. And a lot of those kind of like throwback cyber cams, or whatever you want to call them, cyber shot. I don't even know what they're called, but kind of video cameras from the year 2004, basically, which are kind of back in vogue, I guess. Lots of iPads and iPhones. Actually, it's funny. I remember maybe like 3-4 years ago, majority of what you saw were iPhones and iPads in these little kiosks, and now pretty rare to see it. And I think maybe it's just one of those things. It's not a huge seller anymore. Or maybe people realize that just not going to sell a lot of iPhones from a kiosk in Huaqiangbei. Yeah, this is another place that looks like they have some pretty legitimate used stuff. Yeah, and here's a good example of they have some little sections that are just really like niche for different things. Like if you walk down this little strip here, they have a lot of like computer components for like high speed, like video game grade computer. If you're trying to build like a DIY gaming setup computer, they have a lot of the equipment you would need to do that. There's a lot of shops this size kind of scattered around the whole area that focus on really niche things, or actually a lot of repair. If you need electronics repaired, it's like a miracle location for that. So a little robot dog there. It's funny, a lot of people think Shenzhen, there'll be robots all over the place, but not really. I think that's just more of a sort of trope about the city. They definitely have, the drone delivery and some robotic cleaning cars and stuff like that, but it's not like the YouTube thumbnail of all the robots walking around that a lot of people make it out to be. Back to one of these stores. I know this looks exactly like the first one that I walked into, but it's a totally different store, different brand. Basically same products though. some kid stuff. Yeah, there's, I think, a whole other building basically has like 2 or 3 floors of kid stuff. There's toys, of course, but then there's like educational stuff, learning technology, learning robots, like iPad type things basically made just for children's education. This is one of my favorite shops, this little used camera. They have so many super cool old cameras. I'm sure like half of them don't work, but if you're into cameras, it's just like an amazing place to geek out and look at everything. Even like those ones on top left up there, like, you probably could have used to like record a news channel broadcast 10 years ago. Sewing machine. That's pretty funny that they would have something like that. Not sure how much sewing machine innovation has taken place the last 10 to 15 years. This seemed to be like an orthopedic technology store, which was kind of interesting. I don't remember ever seeing one that focused on that, but definitely like an interesting niche because there's so many older people, or if you have neck pain or headaches or joint pain, there's tons of little massage devices, or at least things that are marketed as able to solve that problem. Not sure if they can. All right, so now we'll head up to the 4th floor, which I think is like mostly LEDs and LED distributors. So it's a little more boring, but it's kind of interesting in its own weird way. Yeah, maybe LED was the next floor up. Yeah, you'll see as you go up, and not just here, but all these buildings, it kind of gets deader and deader as you go up. So now you get to the point where it's like family run groups with like basically like kids working and doing homework behind the booth. Or like very distribution heavy. I think a lot of these people, they have like this headquarters area, but actually a lot of what they do is online sales. So there's just tons of boxes, tons of delivery guys. I guess I skipped that floor. I don't remember doing that, but yeah. So here's the 5th floor. This is like LED Wonderland. Yeah, it'd be really interesting to know like who are the primary buyers for these products, like on a floor like this, because I don't get the sense that it's like individual people who come and they're like, oh, this is very cool, I'll buy this one thing. I think it's people who, for whatever reason, are buying like bulk, whether it's for resale or for like a company that uses tons of LED for something. Can't even think off the top of my head what that would be, but yeah, a lot of crazy booths. Like this one is just, looks completely insane. I can't imagine sitting there working all day with all that stuff blinking. And then, yeah, you just get random guys like this. He's just like soldering a computer chip. I have no idea what he's doing, or if if that's like this one-off thing that he's fixing something, or he just sits there and does that all day. Who knows? Yeah, this floor, this lady's just, I have no idea what's going on there. But this floor especially, you can tell these are not, the people that work here are not looking to sell like individual things. Like they don't want to sell you a light. They're looking for people, who have come to buy like 100 lights or 1,000 lights or 2,000 feet of LED or something. So they're not, they're not like pointing to random stuff or, saying like hello or trying to pull you into the shop. They have the vibe that they know the people who are going to buy stuff know what they're doing and know what they're looking for. This shop was pretty crazy. It's kind of like LED panels for display. There's the wide shot. You can see it's just 6 floors of technology insanity. Yeah, it's really easy here to kind of walk into a corner or like a back part of one of the floors, and you end up somewhere that's like eerily quiet compared to the whole rest of the building, and you almost feel like you walked in someone's living room or something. The vibe is pretty strange, but I would say everybody there is like really friendly. If you just say hello to someone, they say hello back, and they're not going to say, "What are you looking at? What are you doing? Why are you filming?" It's like a huge tourist destination. They're not really surprised by someone walking around with a camera. And then that guy, I must have bumped into that guy 5 times during this walk. I don't know, because we were just on the same trajectory. A lot of empty shops too. I mean, I kind of remember before COVID visiting this place a couple times, and I don't remember seeing really any empty stalls, but ton of empty stalls after COVID, and even still, I feel like maybe 25% of all the spaces in all these buildings is empty. So now we'll go up to 6, the top floor of the building, and I believe this is basically almost all like semiconductor wholesale stores. So there's a guy in an orange vest. They have these signs that you can see right there. It's like, oh, if you need help, ask one of the orange vest workers. I think that's the first one I saw, the whole bay. But here's a good example. I mean, this is a Saturday, just for reference, and it's the 6th floor of this building, and most of these places look like they have a full staff of employees doing whatever they do. I don't know, I guess emailing, figuring out logistical stuff for sales. Okay, maybe that one doesn't have full staff, but definitely like a pretty surreal existence if you work at a semiconductor wholesaler in one of these little booths. Yeah, this one I feel like everybody had their whole team in on the Saturday. What makes me wonder if they work 7 days a week or if weekends are just especially busy. I don't know. As you can imagine, I mean, the competition for sales is just cutthroat on not just semiconductors, but everything that's for sale in any of these buildings. I think the sellers know that they only have this one shot at selling people that walk by for the more gimmicky stuff, and even for stuff like semiconductors here, they're on a floor with 40 other companies that probably do pretty much the same thing. So it's not a lot of people taking weekends off or treating work casually. Okay, that's it. Thanks so much if you made it all the way to the end, and I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.